Welcome to episode 11 with Christine Wang, a USC graduate and professional golfer. Hi, Christine, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So, I want to know growing up, what were your interests and when did golf start coming into the picture?
So, growing up, I played a few other sports. I did a little bit of tennis. I also danced. I did a little bit of everything. But golf, I started when I was 7, and I think I just really liked it compared to anything else I've ever done. So, it's kind of been my only one true love, if you want to call it that. So, I've just been playing since then, and yeah.
That's awesome. What initially drew you to golf, or how were you introduced to it?
So I lived super close to a muni golf course growing up in Houston. Um, and I think my parents just wanted me to try out something like sports in general, and the golf course was right there. So I just got a few like summer camp lessons, and I think they saw a little talent, and I just seemed to really like it. So it was really like no, it wasn't really intentional for me to play golf. It just kind of happened.
Yeah. And was there ever a time you considered walking away from the sport?
Oh yeah, many. Many. Sometimes I'll joke about it like, oh, golf is really hard. I don't want to do this anymore. It kicks my butt every day, and I don't want to play. But other times there was some times that it was like more real. Like during my time at USC, my sophomore year, I had a pretty serious conversation with myself, my family, even my coach, like about whether I should keep playing or not. So
Yeah, and what kept you going?
it's actually really interesting, and I'm forever grateful, but for towards the people in my life for this. But what kept me going was I listened to the episode that you just did that introduced yourself, and it seems like you're really interested in business and sports business and such like that. And I was a business major at USC. I did my undergraduate in business and my master's degree in marketing specifically. And I just knew that golf has already opened so many doors for me. And in the business world, golf is also another asset, especially for female like people, females, especially for women. It's really useful to have this skill. So, knowing that student athlete will forever be on my resume if I go through with my 4 years at USC, I was like, you know what, I will just stick it out, but I'll let it sit in the back seat of my brain instead of in the forefront, and I'll focus more on school, but I obviously will still play on the team. So that was the reason why I stayed on the team. But and that was encouraged by like my coach, my family, everyone, right? What's interesting is that when I did that and I took an internship with a media company, like a Fortune 500 media company, I did advertising that summer. That's when I kind of rediscovered my love for golf again. And that's when I decided to turn pro. So it's kind of in a weird way. The reason why I turned pro is because I was going to quit. So,
I like
yeah.
that you overcame that challenge and, fought against it.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like sometimes I'll think about it as like, wow, I can't believe that's the reason why. Like, 'cause I always wanted to turn pro when I was younger, but as I got older, it became less of a goal for me, more of like oh, like maybe, right? But you can't turn pro in something if you don't really want it. So, yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it definitely did. I'm curious. You were talking about that goal, and it was kind of less of a goal as you got older.
Mhm.
Why was I?
Yeah, so I feel like when you're younger, especially in sports, and when you're younger and you have like any sort of talent, people tell you just like people unsoliciting, like no one asked, but people will just be like, oh, you're so good, like you're gonna be the next Tiger Woods or the next Michelle Wheat or whoever else, right? Like they just are very encouraging, and they just put that goal in your brain for you, and you don't really make that choice by yourself. I mean, some people might, but I feel like most people don't. So when I was younger, that's what I thought I wanted as well. But as I went through middle school, high school, I realized there's just so much more in life than just playing my sport. Like things like hanging out with friends, I had to sacrifice to go practice. And even doing homework, like instead of doing homework at a normal hour, I would finish practice, finish working out, and then, oh shoot, it's already 8:30. I have to eat, shower, do homework now. And I'm like, I'm in high school. Like I want to relax. Like I'm still a kid. So when things like that start, some people call it distracts you from, but for me, I think it's just a hint of reality. That's when I started like thinking, is this something I really want to do because of me, or is it because everyone just told me that I should? So there's a big difference. Yeah.
Sense. So golf is a sport that requires incredible patience. How did your early training help you develop that mental discipline needed for success?
um, I was a I'm a pretty hothead when I was younger. I was a pretty hothead when I was younger. And like you said, golf needs a lot of patience. You need to have control over your emotions, which is really difficult for anyone, much less a little kid, right? So I think it's just have a lot of practice. It took a lot of therapy to
Yeah,
help
that's
me
real.
like like sports therapy and also like personal therapy to kind of figure out where the anxiety and like e- unrealistic expectation and pressure I was putting on myself was coming from. So um yeah, just a lot of practice and a lot of work put into self-awareness.
Yeah. What is your mental playbook that keeps you going, especially in high pressure tournaments?
So I love this quote from this famous golfer. I believe is Gary Player, but it's might not be. It's something to do is like the um the harder I practice, the luckier I get, or something like that. So, and I just really believe in that like mentality where you're having like confidence while you play is comes from preparation. If I go to a tournament and I know I did everything I can, then yeah, like that I'm gonna perform to the best of my ability and I'm not gonna have any regrets. But if I get to a tournament and I didn't do that, then that's where like the anxiety of not knowing how I'm gonna do, hoping, like I feel like that is a big thing for me. So I try to make sure every day when I'm practicing and stuff, I prepare for when I play in those high pressure situations.
Yeah, and how do you overcome those moments when you kind of feel self-doubt or just are struggling on the course?
I think you have to, I feel like this is something that I recently only learned, but having moments of self doubt is going to happen and you need to kind of expect it to happen. No one, even I think people like on TV. Like nobody is always thinking they're amazing and the best and never doubting themselves at any point in their lives. So when I do have those moments, I think of one thing in particular. It's like, what is real? Like, let's say, for example, I am nervous about a tournament round and I don't know if I can score well enough to make the cut, which, then I'm like, okay, I can think about how, what if this happens and then this happens and then all the bad scenarios. Or I can think about what is real. And what is real is that I haven't played the tournament yet. I haven't started the round yet. I haven't even hit a shot yet. I have done everything I could to prepare. And I have the opportunity to play the way I think I should be able to play from my preparation. So I feel like that question that I ask myself always grounds me a lot, which is so I don't know if that, yeah.
Yeah. And after like a tough round or a bad shot, how do you reset and recover when that actually happens?
So bad shots in golf happen a lot. um, and sometimes you can do everything you can and it still ends up bad. So again, it takes a lot of practice, but under like acknowledging that the bad shot happened is very important. I think like suppressing it is just makes it worse and will just make it come up later. So acknowledging that it happened, I hit a bad shot. Okay, that was bad. You can even think about why. But then after you let like have that, you need to let it go. You have to let it go. And like, how do I do that? I think it's just from practice and from hours and hours of people telling me telling myself like you have to let it go, because holding on to like bad vibes from your last shot to the next one is only going to keep affecting like how you play, and I feel like that's even worse. um but it's tough, it's really tough. I remember that when I was a sophomore in college, I had a round where my junior year in college, I had a round where in the morning I shot one of my worst rounds in college golf, and in the afternoon I shot my actual best round in college golf, and that was a really awesome moment for me after the tournament, because I was like, wow, for the first time I was able to truly let go and, you know, start all over again. So it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, I saw this quote where it's like the most successful athletes or people are the ones who have overcome, the most failures and hardships.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I saw this stat like even the most winning teams or winning athletes have lost more than they've ever won. So yeah.
And I think that makes you, after failures and losses, right? I feel like that makes you value those wins more and keep you motivated.
hmm Yeah, for sure. For sure. Like motivation comes from your personal drive to achieve a goal, right? So if you have a plan and a goal with like good intentions, I think that when you have failures, it just makes you reevaluate and find a different path to get to that goal, instead of just feeling defeated. So
Okay. So golf is seen as an individual sport. Do you ever find that solitary nature of the game to be isolating, or do you see it as an advantage?
golf for me, my personality. So I'm very extroverted. I love people. I love talking on the golf course. And you're right, not a lot of golfers are like that. So especially when I was younger, that was a big struggle. Um, it's very competitive, and you're right, it's lonely. Like it's especially like even when I practice now that I'm a pro and I don't practice with a team, I practice alone for like 6 7 hours a day, just me and like a headphone just in one ear because I got to hear the ball in the other ear, right? And yeah, it's really lonely, but it kind of makes me appreciate my moments when I'm not golfing more. And it made me realize like I know this podcast is all about mental, like, mental playbook. And that's something I learned in college. In college, I realized that after my practice, after school, I have to dedicate time for fun. And like having fun is something that when you're a student athlete, you have to schedule into your schedule, which sounds counterintuitive, but I would say like dinner with my friends, or I'll be super intentional because I'm already tired and it's late, or like go watch a bachelorette with my roommates or something like that. Like having intentional time put invested into like me having fun, having social interaction helped me play better golf, which, no one would like on surface level, you wouldn't think that, right? But maybe that's because of the isolation of the sport. That's why I had to do that.
Yeah, and you were just talking about like the sacrifices of the social part in high school. How
hmm
did you balance, practice and friends then? Or were you still like kind of learning about that?
Yeah, I feel in high school it was definitely much easier to balance, because I think no matter what, you're still a junior, right? So you're not a college athlete, you're not a professional athlete. No one expects you to practice as hard as, let's say, a professional does, right? And you also have school. I went to public school, so I had school for like 8 hours a day or whatever. Can't remember anymore because it's been a while, but and I remember all the sacrifices I had to make, but I always didn't mind it because I knew, like I said earlier, I had a goal. I wanted to play at the number one women's golf team in the nation. Like that is why I was gonna skip out on this party and go to bed early. So I can go play my tournament tomorrow, you know? So the balance, like obviously you just have I think it's a good thing overall for me to have had to really start to learn about sacrifice and balancing since high school. But it was definitely easier in high school than in college. And now it's like the hardest. um, Once you like graduate, you kind of can do whatever you want once you're like a professional athlete, right? So being really intentional about your practice schedule, your workout schedule, and your fun time, your me time is all on you. And that's something I'm still definitely working on right now.
Yeah, a lot of independence.
Yeah, independence is good because that's all I've ever wanted, right? Like when you're growing up, when you're playing college sports, like your coach is telling you what to do every second of every day. Oh my gosh, my college Google Calendar used to be literally filled from 5 o'clock a.m. to 10:30 p.m. That's like when my last class ended. It was crazy. And now I I have to make my own schedule, but yeah, it's all life skills, you know.
Yeah. So many athletes talk about the importance of visualization. Do you use visualization or other mental techniques to prepare you for a round?
I know lots of golfers who visualize the course before we go out and play it. But for me, something that has been really helpful is just visualizing myself playing it instead of the actual course. So I would visualize, like, especially when I'm at an event where I have a little more anxiety than usual for whatever reason. I know that when I play nervous, I get really fast. Like I move really fast. I like make mistakes. But if the night before, I try to like visualize like myself walking down a certain hole, like just very slowly. I visualize my swing very like in a slow motion pattern. And that, I don't know, it just brings me peace. It's something that my sports psych at USC taught me. It's a skill my sports psych at USC taught me, but has been really helpful. So
That's really cool. I've never heard of that.
yeah, yeah, it's cool. I mean, I don't know anyone else who does it, but it's been helpful to me.
So how do you analyze your performance after a round? Do you rely more on like how you're feeling or, the stats of it or just like a mix of both?
When I before I used to be very focused on the results. Like in golf, there's a score, right? And you can also compare yourself to other people. Unlike other sports, you it's 101. So I know exactly how I play compared to anyone else. But I try my best now to not focus as much on the results because sometimes the results are not a direct, like it's not because you actually play bad. Like some luck happens, things happen, weather happens. Golf is in the it's in the rain, shine, like wind, like it's in many different conditions. So you can't be so hard on yourself. And now I try to focus more on how I handled myself on the course mentally. Whether if I hit a bad shot, did I let it go? Like, was I good at moving on and trying to improve on my next shot? Or did I stay with that last shot angry walking down the fairway and brought it to my next shot? Did that cause any mistakes? Like, that's kind of how I judge myself now. Obviously, I still want to score well, right? Like that is the actual purpose of the game. But what I've realized is when I handle myself very well mentally, my game will just take care of itself.
Yeah, it's about building that mental resilience.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific routine or ways you practice mindfulness or
Um,
stuff?
like before the round or like while I'm playing?
Yeah, like before.
Before the round. So just breathing has been very helpful for me. like I said earlier, I am someone who gets really fast when I am nervous or whatever. So just like breathing in through my nose, like pausing, holding my breath for 3 seconds, and then letting it all go. I think there's like a science behind it, but when you control your breathing, it really like slows down your heart rate, and it like there's a nerve like in your brain that just releases certain hormones to calm you down artificially. So that's something I definitely do probably before every round.
That's definitely very calming.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely.
What has been the most rewarding moment of your golf career so far?
Mm, I think when I between my junior year and senior year summer, I worked at a golf course and I helped out the junior camp, and that was really nice and rewarding to see like little kids ages like 5 to 14 basically learning and falling in love with the sport the way I did when I was younger. That was and helping them get there, like teaching them about the swing, teaching them about like what I'm thinking about on the course. That is very rewarding to me. And I love when people ask me questions specifically about mental stuff, because too many people in sports, I think, focus on the physical aspect of sports. And when I honestly think maybe 50%, if not more, of what makes someone great and someone okay is just all in here. So yeah, so just answering questions like this and talking to people younger is always really rewarding.
Oh, um, are there any specific habits, books, or mentors that have helped you stay mentally strong?
There is a book that my old coach, I don't want to say forced me to read, but highly encouraged me to read. But it's by Trevor Moward. It's called It Takes What It Takes. And that's a book that kind of really talks about focusing on the present and staying grounded, and that quote, the question of like what is real, like that was my biggest takeaway from that book. But it goes into a lot of things about expectations and how to handle yourself. Yeah, that's if I always tell people that's like a really awesome book to read. But another thing that could help, like for whatever you do, is just talking to people who have already gone through what you've gone through. Because there's a lot of feelings and questions and uncertainty that you might feel alone in, but you're really not. Like none of us. Nobody has had an original thought, which sounds kind of harsh, but that's something I've realized. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm the only one in the world who gets stressed out about this. But just talking about how you're feeling with other people you trust and respect is you'd be surprised, like you're not alone.
Yeah. How do you balance your physical health along with your mental health? And like this could include like what do you do for recovery, like after a tournament or something like that?
Yeah, so after a tournament I try to get my mind off of golf as quickly as possible. um I will just get myself some food, I'll feed myself, and I try to always get lunch or dinner with friends, people who I can just be myself, not have to worry about how I play, even if I have to play the next day. Like there's those moments where you can just forget about it for a second. And I think that's really important. Yeah, like that's I obviously after at a certain point you have to take a moment and think about how reflect about how you can improve how you play for the next time you play, whether that is tomorrow or the next event. But really knowing that it's okay, even if you play bad, to just not think about sports for a second and just be yourself with your friends, and remember that you're more than just a golfer, you're more than just an athlete, you're a person and a friend as well. Like I think that's always the best thing you can do.
Yeah. And how long are tournaments?
Tournaments are usually 3 or 4 days long. So
Okay. Along with training and competing, you also maintain an active presence on social media. Do you ever feel pressure to keep up with it?
For sure. It's funny. I like to, people, my friends who are golfers, like professional golfers, they call me a golf influencer.
Mhm.
But I have met a lot of like golf influencers who do it for a full time, and I'm definitely not one of them. I respect them so much because it's so difficult to maintain the output that they maintain. Um, but yeah, because my main job is a professional golfer, anything that I post on social media is additional work that I'm like choosing to do. Um, Obviously, it's opened a lot of opportunities for me. Like we got connected, and I'm sure that's why, and sponsors and stuff like that. But um, I have a golden rule with myself, which is that I am a golfer first. So if the socials ever get in the way of that, then I need to let it go. And I think I've been really good about maintaining that balance. Like sometimes when tournaments got really hectic, I was just like, you know what? I'm not touching my Instagram, my TikTok for the next week. And just having that boundary with myself has been very helpful.
Yeah, I like that. I was just gonna ask because there are, there's positive and negative effects of social media. And I was wondering, like, do you look at social media before a tournament and like, do you find it motivating or distracting or does it not, affect your mindset at all?
I like looking at social media before a tournament, like because I feel like it again, it takes my mind off of what is happening in this current moment. But that again, that's I think it depends on people's feed. Like if your feed is all about like people who you aspire to be, motivational quotes, like yes, obviously you're gonna feel inspired. My feed is a lot of just like what I find funny and stuff like that. So yes, that takes my mind off of it, right? So it really depends. I know people who don't even look at their phones before a round because they just don't want to be distracted or get affected negatively in any way. But for me, I just think that it's all fun and games. So
From your experience, if you could give one piece of advice to young golfers, what would it be?
I can give one piece of advice. I would say I would say like honestly, just have fun. I know that's so basic, but when you're playing golf, golf is a very frustrating sport, and in the moment you can feel like the world is ending and you don't understand why you're even out here sweating in the sun. But after the round, just after the round, just make sure you take a moment and just feel like just think about like one thing you're grateful for, every day. Just I feel like that is something that not even just golfers, but anyone in any sport, any career can do. Just after you do your job, just think about one thing you're grateful for, because then you realize, like, oh, it's a privilege to be able to play. It's a privilege to be able to get a sunburn. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
What are your long-term goals in golf and how do you mentally prepare yourself to achieve them?
My long-term goals, well, I achieved my goal of turning professional in golf, so that was awesome, and I still can't believe it because it's so new. But I've always said my number one goal is that I want to win the US Open. Um, there's 5 majors in women's golf, but the US Open for whatever reason is the one that has always like spoke to me since I was a little girl. So that would be the dream tournament that I want to accomplish.
Yeah, that's awesome. My last question for you is what matters most to you, the journey, the destination, or the company?
I think it has to be a mix between the company and the journey. I think that the journey without company is very lonely, and just company without journey is stressful because you have no direction. So it has to be a good mix of those two. Mm.
Well, thank you so much, Christine, for joining me. This was a great conversation. I hope you have a good day.
Thank you.
And to my listeners, mind strong, game on.